Hello, everyone, and welcome to ReelQuick, episode 114. Today, we're going to be doing our review of the week. This week, it is A Ghost Story, directed by David Lowery, recommended by our patron, Luke Dyrhaug. Shout out to you for the suggestion. This is an A24 film starring Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. Came out 6 years ago, so 2017. And it's one of those that, because I'm trying to tick off most A24 movies, but this is one of those movies that I just always was sitting there and I knew I should watch it. The poster alone, honestly, is enough to make me intrigued to see it. I had no clue anything what it was about whatsoever. Finally got around to watching it. It was my first watch ever. George rewatched it. Cam saw it years and years ago. So we're going to see how much he remembers, but he did rate it very highly. I won't spoil what his rating is, but he rated it very highly. So
yeah.
let's get into it. I'll start with George since he did just freshly rewatch it. What are your thoughts on A Ghost Story? Go for it.
Yeah, God, this is one of those movies that I'll watch it and I'll watch it every couple of months when it's just one of those movies you put on or I put on when I'm just feeling down or depressed or whatever, and it's just I want to amplify that for some reason, and this is the movie I go to because I think truly, and I said this in my my very short Letterboxd review of it today. This is just one of the most devastating looks at grief and loss and love that I've ever seen. We've had so many movies in the past that have dealt with, what happens after you die. And I think David Lowery's vision here for this just grieving husband who's basically just following around his location of where he spent with his wife, his house, and this location, and just watching how her life is unfolding in front of him and how he's just there and he can do nothing about it. And I think it is so devastating. And I'm probably going to say that word a million times throughout this review because I think it's the perfect word to describe this movie. I think Casey Affleck, I don't think, and this may sound stupid because he obviously spends 90% of this movie under a fucking sheet. I think he is brilliant in this movie because he needs to convey emotion with just strictly body language, and I think the way he does that is just mesmerizing with his little shoulder moves, his little head turns, the way he just kind of stands in the corner, and the design. It's so last minute Halloween costume design, but it just fits the minimalist efforts of this
A24 design.
Literally, that's exactly what it is. It's very A24 minimalist design, which it just works so well. And then one thing, and after I watched the movie today, I was listening to an old interview with David Lowery because I also had just rewatched The Green Knight not too long ago, and I fucking love that movie as well. So he's really just, between these two movies, I think he's just a fucking genius. But he was talking about how he used that that one, well, I forgot what he said. I think it was a 1:33:1 aspect ratio, that very old Polaroid camera type of thing. And he was talking about how every shot feels very intimate and feels very personal, so that, again, the devastation, there's that word again, of this movie just feels amplified because of how personal everything feels. And I just think that just makes this movie one of the most brutal looks at grief and love and loss. And I didn't hide my Letterboxd rating this time because I've had this rated for forever. So it's a 4.5 out of 5 for me. As I was watching it today, this is so close to being a 5 out of 5, which I feel like I could say about every single A24 movie that I have at a 4.5 out of 5. But I love this. I love Rooney Mara in this. That fucking 5-minute cut of her eating the pie is just heartbreaking. I was also, I don't know why this time around I did a lot of reading up on this movie and a lot of just listening to interviews, but apparently a lot of people walked out of theaters during that time because they just thought it was dumb and I guess a stupid sequence, because it's literally just her eating pie for 5 minutes straight while Casey Affleck's ghost watches her. And then I was thinking to myself, I was like, it's probably how I would react if I, God forbid, lost a loved one. I would just be shoving shit down my throat left and right. So yeah, this entire movie, again, devastating look at grief and loss, and I adore this movie. It is heartbreaking.
Cam, from memory, what do you got?
Yeah, I I remember being very sad with it. So, like you said, I haven't seen it in.
It is a sad ass movie, no doubt.
It's a sad ass movie. I haven't seen it in probably 3 years. But don't worry, I came with some fun facts, some talking points about the movie. So I got all those locked. I gave it an 87 out of 100 at the time. I've used this movie many a time when I'm making a TikTok of like sad movies, you know. But yeah, I vividly remember like Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara were great. That's one thing, and then also that just broke my heart. You know, it's not only him watching like his wife's, right? They were married.
Yeah, they were married.
Okay.
Yep.
His wife's life like go by. It's watching like a bunch of different lives go by, and then watching his own life go by, and it's just such a fuck you movie from A24 because it's just heartbreaking every time, and it just makes you like absolutely depressed. It's kind of like almost like George, you love 9 Days, like just being on the outside of life, looking in, and you just like don't see things for what they are when you're in life, and it gives you that perspective of like, shit, maybe it wasn't that bad, or maybe this sucks, but like could have been a bit better, and you just it's like the 5-minute scene of her eating pie, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is because you said it, so it's the only like scene that jogged back into my memory. But just things like that just like will break your heart because he's just watching and can't do anything about it, right? Yeah. And he's just from the outside looking in. And George, you said it perfectly. It's just a devastating movie. I don't have perfect recollection of it. I remember enjoying it. It is my 11th rated A24 movie, right behind The Disaster Artist and above Enemy. Big fan of it.
Wow, you have Disaster Artist that high?
Dude, I fucking love Disaster Artist.
I knew you liked
awesome.
it. I did not know you loved it. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, I loved The Disaster Artist. I think it's awesome. I don't even think I've seen The Room, to be honest.
I was gonna say, if you rated that highly, you have to watch The Room. Like, you have
different tangent. I know. I don't think I've ever seen The Room.
I've never seen it.
But yeah, I really do enjoy this one. Definitely want to rewatch it. Maybe one day when I have more time to watch movies. But how long is it?
It's quick. It's like an hour 18 minute of actual runtime.
I remember that. It's not bad at all. So maybe I will give it a watch. Too busy watching shitty Christmas.
Yeah, you got to stop with that, man. You got to stop with that. Every time I see another 1-star letterbox review from you, I die a little bit inside.
Oh, man. But you did give it 4.5 stars. It's been a while.
4.5, 87 out of 100. Big fan of this movie. I think it's magnificent. I do remember like Casey Affleck being awesome, and like he's sitting behind a sheet the entire time. And I read something earlier today because I read the synopsis. I read like a couple articles about it, just kind of to refresh the memory a little bit. And it was things like, what a bold play, like coming off of Manchester by the Sea, this Oscar-winning actor. You're just like, I'm going to throw a sheet over him the entire time. And it works. Like, I'm sure many actors could do that, but it works. Like,
I swear, it's like,
dread.
It's such a weird performance to praise because the fact that he's just behind this sheet for like 90% of the runtime, but it's genuinely a good performance. Like if his body language wasn't as effective as it was, I don't think this movie would have this lasting impression on me and you guys the way it seems to be having. It's a good performance. Like it really is. And again, it's just a weird thing to praise because of like the nature of the performance. Mm-hmm. And then also Rooney Mara is great. Just shouting her out as well. I love her.
Another tangent, because what would this be without my tangents? Is Manchester by the Sea the most A24 non-A24 movie of all time? Like, I could have sworn it was as I was looking at my A24 rankings, I'm like, where's Manchester by the Sea? It's just Prime Video. I could have sworn it was A24.
There's a lot of those movies. I
feel like Sound of Metal fits in that too.
I feel like I've seen someone make past lives. I've seen someone make a TikTok of this exact
this
list.
Week's draft is gonna be A24 movies that aren't A24 movies. Like, that's what it's gonna be.
I'm gonna draft Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, perfect. All right, Tyler. Take it from me.
It's just funny because I feel like a producer or director who has a sad screenplay is like, like I got a sad script. Who can I cast as a lead actor? And then a casting agent will be like, "Yeah, we got a list of some of like the top 10 like best dramatic actors right now." They're like, "No, like I mean like sad movie, like the saddest." Like, oh, okay, Casey Affleck's your guy. Like, there's only one guy. It's the most depressing movie on the planet. Is a Casey Affleck movie. For everything you guys said, he's just so good at portraying that just despair, and he's acting so much with his body language in this.
Kind of like Daniel Kaluuya in that sense, where they look sad always. I feel like.
Yeah. But yeah, like Casey Affleck actually was under the ghost sheet, and the fun fact on IMDb is the most liked, or one at the top of the sheet says, in order to achieve the shape for the ghost, Casey Affleck had to wear several petticoats and a hoop under the sheet. So yeah, it's just funny because the budget for this was $100,000. I'm guessing it was $50K to Rooney Mara and $50K to Casey Affleck, and there's zero for the rest of this.
Well, no, they had Daniel Hart as a composer as well, who also did The Green Knight. Who's
okay, he got $25K, and the other he split it because none of the money went into the production of this movie. Because, like we said, like the sheet. I mean, and you don't need a crazy production for the ghost. Like, I'm not saying like that's a negative. I'm just saying like they literally just throw a sheet over the dude, and then
they probably didn't even pay to have that house demolished. They probably found a house that was going to be demolished.
Literally, yeah. That's one of the IMDb fun facts. It's literally they got to shoot there for free because it was scheduled for demolition, and when it got demolished, they just filmed the demolition. Like that's what I mean. Like this $100,000 movie. Like I feel like it was just the actors, the composer, and then the rest is just like, all right, we got to find something. It was filmed in Irving, Texas. They just threw it together. But this movie was one of the most like transcendent experiences for me watching it, because when it started, the first like 15 minutes, because it's one of those that like I think it's like 12 or 15 minutes in where the actual title card comes up, a ghost story, and when the thing happens, then you kind of get the ghost element of it. But the first like 12 minutes, I was very much like, this is just not going to be for me. One of those like really slow A24 movies that's kind of just has a lot to say, but it's just not quite for me. And then like from there, I just like slowly just kept liking it more and more as the movie went on. And by the end of the movie, I was just absolutely loving the movie. So it's just so wild. It's like I vividly remember like this is just gonna be one of those like ReelQuick. So I'm gonna have to be like, like I can see what it was going for. I appreciate it, but just wasn't for me. But by the end of the movie, I was in love with this thing. It is a short movie. It's like an hour and a half, like we were saying, but I honestly think it could have benefited personally for me from being like a short film. And when people hear short film, they might think like 15 minutes, but a short film I think is anything under like 50 minutes. I think like a 50-minute version of this, I might've liked a little more, because specifically like an hour in, and this isn't like a spoiler, just kind of talking about a part of the movie when like they're having that like party in the house and that guy goes on his little monologue. Thought it was like good, but I was just kind of losing interest in the movie at that point. Like most shots,
that
you're right, and I can see why people would.
That was like the most, and again, I would just after. This is how I know when I like love a film. Sorry to cut you off, Tyler. It's when I like just Google so much like after, and I was listening to more and more David Lowery interviews, and he said one thing that he wanted to like kind of give his take on in this movie is time post death. So obviously the entire movie is moving very quickly. It's not moving quickly though. It's just time moving around a dead person, and how like the afterlife would perceive time, which is why it's kind of like a cycle towards the end where you see him go back all the way in time to the land of where his house ends up being. And then that monologue, which fun fact, that guy in that monologue had the most lines in the entire movie, more than Casey Affleck and Rooney Mara. That was another fun fact that I had read. But his entire monologue kind of plays to David Lowery's idea of like everything matters, but at the same time nothing matters, because at the end of the day everything's going to disappear. There's that quote from Danny Boyle's Sunshine, where he basically says like at the end of all of time there will be one man, and all of his ideas and memories will be with him. And then in a moment he'll be gone, and everything will be a speck of dust that no one remembers. And that's kind of like what David Lowery's going for here, where that whole monologue was basically like everything is going to stop one day. Nothing matters, but in the moment everything matters. And that plays to what David Lowery's going for with like the whole, I guess, time and afterlife kind of stuff, which I think is cool.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, that was like such a bulky part of the movie, because I think I'm probably seeing the same fun fact you saw. It says that guy's dialogue was more than double the combined dialogue of Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck. So like far and away the most dialogue in this movie came from this guy.
Mm.
And I think maybe for me, like I was just so locked into Rooney Mara and Casey Affleck in this meditative, borderline silent film that I just like for that part, I was like, oh, this is like a little long for me. So that was the only thing that I didn't fully love. And when
did you say, what'd you give it?
4.5. I was just about to reveal that. So
okay.
I like when I say like,
I didn't know if I missed it. I'm sorry.
No, it's one of those where like, it's one of those movies where like I'm criticizing something, but it's like a 4.5. So it's like you're saying it because like this is what's detracting for me, but it's like so nitpicky because you love the movie. Like I didn't actually really.
That's like one nitpick that I can like completely understand because like the entire movie, there were like those very long, dragged out sequences, like Rooney Mara's character eating the pie, or one of the very first scenes is when they're in the bed together, and that just goes on for like 3-4 minutes, and again, it's like very intimate, and then you get to that house party scene, and it feels like a very just wild change of pace because now you're kind of in the midst of this, I'm assuming young adult house party, because they were asking who has kids, young adult house party, and then this guy just goes on this absolute rant, which kind of like that rant alone felt like a short film itself that they kind of just pasted in the middle of this movie, which for me, that's not a criticism because I do like what that whole rant was saying in terms of like what David Lowery wanted to convey to his audience. But I could completely understand if like that, and it doesn't seem like it took you out of the movie, but it definitely seems like something that you could have done without.
Yeah, exactly. And this movie, I don't know, like it's weird because for the longest time I thought this was like a horror movie or like a borderline horror movie because one is A24. If you read the synopsis, it's about someone who's like deceased coming back to like not haunt but like watch over his wife. The poster kind of looks like it could be creepy. So like for the longest time I was like, oh, there's an A24 horror movie tackling grief. We've seen like a dozen of those before from them. That's kind of their bread and butter. So I just in the back of my mind was like, oh, when I'm in the mood for like a scary movie, I'll watch this one. But it's of course not scary at all. It's like a drama / like supernatural fantasy, and I even hesitate saying the word supernatural because I feel like that makes people's like, hairs stick up. I'd be like, oh, that must be scary. Like, no, it's just, and we're not going to get into spoilers because there is really no spoilers in the movie. Like the movie's about what the synopsis is. Casey Affleck's character dies like 5 minutes into the movie, and it's him as a ghost, like we've been talking about most of the movie, watching over his wife, or I don't know, wife, ex-wife, whatever you'd call it at that point, as she continues to live on her life. And you kind of go through the history of her, history of him, history of that house and the plot of land. Ghost Next Door, which fun fact was also played by David Lowery.
Hey, did you pull up I said I brought trivia. Did you pull up the IMDb trivia?
I always read the IMDb fun facts.
That's
before,
about as deep as I got
before
the IMDb trivia
before the episode. But yeah, it's funny. There's like no, I don't know. I think it might just be the silliness of them in the ghost costumes. But there's a couple of moments I laughed in this movie, probably like out of pocket reasons. But like first off, when he like sat up in the hospital bed, like I was a little creeped out, and I was also like, oh, that's kind of funny. But when he saw the ghost next door, I just kind of chuckled to myself, honestly, because like it's just like so funny. But like, because in my mind, I'm just picturing them being like, "Fuck, man, you too." Like you're just watching your family's life go by. Doesn't this fucking suck? Yeah. Just looking at each other across the way, like without saying any words, they're both looking at each other like, "God, this fucking sucks right now." But man, like, yeah, I don't want to say any more fun facts. I don't want to steal Cam's thunder.
I was gonna ask, did you read the one then that like they did have this house for free because it was already scheduled for demolition?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were guessing that at the start.
I said that as a joke without knowing that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, was it George? Okay. Yeah.
George pulled out the guess, and then I confirmed it.
Yeah.
They did have this house for free. $100,000. Not sure where the hell this budget went at all.
I mean, best actor winner Casey Affleck.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, good for him. There's like 30 fun facts on this about the pie scene. It's like Rooney Mara never ate pie. It was a vegan chocolate pie that tasted like shit. It was a one-take scene or first try scene. Like it only took once to film, and it takes exactly 4 minutes. Every fun fact on this
about
page
the pie.
is about the pie scene.
The funny thing is, like,
notable scene.
I love Rooney Mara. I love pretty much every movie and role she's ever done. But like those two fun facts about the pie in this movie are the most like, don't tell a normal person this because they're gonna look at you like some Hollywood elitist. The fact is, like, she's never eaten pie before, and the pie she did eat was like a vegan, gluten-free pie. It's like these are the type of fun facts to like make people roll their eyes and be like, oh, such a typical movie star. Like, of course you've never eaten pie, you perfect person. But no, shout out Rooney Mara, awesome. She's the one married to Joaquin Phoenix, right? Yeah, I was getting her and Kate
Yeah.
Mara mixed up, but yeah, she's the one married to Joaquin
Are
Phoenix.
they sisters?
Yes.
Yeah, never really put two and two together until this exact moment when you
I
Yeah.
said
yeah,
it
neither
next
did
time.
I.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Well, Liam and Chris are also brothers, the Hemsworths.
Yeah, that one I knew.
Yeah, yeah.
That one I knew. They've got another. They've got another brother. The
Oh, they got a
other
bonus
Hemsworth.
Jonas?
Yeah, they got a bonus Jonas. They do.
Anything
so-
else that you okay, go ahead, Cam.
Yeah. Because I want to mention, so David Lowery's last 4 movies, George. Actually, there's one. So last 5 movies, we'll say. A Ghost Story,
Yeah.
The Green Knight. Can you name? And then one is The Old Man and the Gun.
Yeah.
Can you name the other 2?
One of them is Pete's Dragon.
Yep. And one's from this year.
This year.
Have
Yeah.
I seen it? I feel like
Yeah, we've all. I think I think you have, Tyler. I'm pretty confident.
This year.
do we
David
rate it
Lowery, yeah.
positively? I'm
Yeah,
not
is
gonna.
it-
I'm gonna look it up, but George is gonna be the one guessing. I'm not gonna steal the thunder, but
I have.
We did not rate it positive.
wow.
I have no idea.
So it appears David Lowery only does A24
Oh, no.
and Disney movies
Oh,
now. Do you know
no.
the Disney movie that came out this year, George? It's a live action
no.
remake of something.
I don't know if George watched it, but
It's definitely not the Little Mermaid.
Nope. It's not the Little
he
Mermaid.
wishes it was a Little Mermaid
Yeah,
based on what it
he
actually
does.
is.
It's Peter Pan and Wendy. That shitty ass.
Oh, I never
remake.
watched that. Wow,
No,
he did that?
Yeah, right. Like,
Everyone
what is this
hated
guy's-
that.
Yeah, that movie's ass. What is
Wait,
this guy's
yeah.
filmography of up and down? He goes like A24, and then he's like, "All right, I need some money." Disney,
Literally, he's just like, I
A24,
need money.
Disney. Yeah, like
He probably turns in banger scripts to Disney
Well,
that are like the
here's the
saddest
thing.
things ever, and then Disney's like, "We're gonna have to change all this to make
No,
it happy."
I-
And then he's like, "I don't know how to make happy things."
I almost bet it's the opposite, where it's like where Disney's like, "Yo, we got the guy who did A Ghost Story. We got the guy who did The Green Knight," and then this guy comes on set. He's like, "I'm here for the check. I don't give a fuck what this movie is right now."
Wow,
Like,
what
he's
1
like,
star from Tyler, 1.5 from.
That's a generous 1.5, but I'll stand by it.
I will
guess.
not be watching this one.
No, it's a bad one. And then Peach Dragon's ass, right? I don't
Yeah,
think I've seen it.
yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it in forever.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard it's really bad. I
So
So
thought
that means
you
I've seen
hated it.
3 David Lowery films: one ass, Peter Pan and Wendy, one incredible Ghost Story, and a Green Knight. I'm mixed on, and I need to rewatch.
I like
So,
I like the Green Knight.
I think I would too
knew
on a
George
rewatch.
would
I'm just
like it.
overdue. I
I
think
love
Seth
The
said the
Green
same
Knight.
thing, that he needs to rewatch it, but
After
all
I
over
and
the
then
place
read-
for Lowery.
he's got a bunch of other like random ones, but I just saw that and I was like, "What the fuck did you do to yourself, David Lowery? How did you fall so far from grace?" Go
But
ahead,
I do highly
David.
recommend this movie to anyone watching this or listening to this. I will say, however, like I never know the best way to put this, but this is like the type of movie, and no slight to like Riley or anyone who's like this, because this is, let's be honest, this is what 99.999% of people who watch movies are like, because the film Twitter, cinephiles, people who watch all these new movies like that, we're obviously in the vast minority of most people. Most people see 1 or 2 movies a year and that's it. But this is definitely the type of movie that, like, if I brought Riley to the theater and this turned on, or brought a friend, not even gonna throw Riley, but any of my buddies at the theater and watched, and they saw this aspect ratio with the curved edges, not
Yeah, the
even full.
aspect ratio is awesome though.
I loved it.
Right?
in
No,
this
no.
movie.
I'm saying,
I love it,
I'm saying
yeah.
for the average person, seeing
No,
this
I
aspect
agree.
ratio and then seeing like barely any dialogue, and like George said, like the scene of them in bed that just goes on for like 5 minutes with no talking. I think everyone I brought this to this movie with would be like, "What the fuck did you bring me to? Like, it's such a waste of my time." Like, it is a phenomenal movie, and I think people would agree with that too if they give it a chance. But I will say, like, give it an opportunity, give it
not-
the 20,
yeah.
30 minutes to get into it. Like, if you, because I started right away too. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be real slow," but I really thought it definitely was worth the wait and the payoff, and I ended up loving it. So give it a chance.
Even so, I don't think this is definitely not the most accessible film out there. But I think
No,
even
not
for
at
like,
all.
and again, this is no like, I don't like you said, I don't even know how to word this, but like, this is no hate to like a casual moviegoer, but like,
Mhm.
even the end is just, it's very ambiguous. Like, he opens a note, you don't see what it says, and then he just the cloak just drops. Like, I know my friends, that would piss them off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, to no end. I think if I showed like my best group of college friends, 7 of them, I think all 7 of them would rate this a like 2-star or less.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I
that's just
agree.
because of like the aspect ratio, the ambiguity, the fact that there are these scenes like the pie scene and the bed scene and the party tangent scene that just run on for like 5 minutes.
One of the fun facts was that Rooney Mara was asked to like write something very deep and personal to herself on that note. And then when they actually destroyed the house, the note got lost, and she's been interviewed since and says she doesn't remember what the note said. I have a hot take. I don't think she wrote anything. I think she just stuck a piece of paper in a wall and said, "Yeah, no, I did it. Totally." Yeah, like what's the point in writing something deep and personal if no one's gonna ever see? Like, what's the point?
I was like thinking the entire movie. I was like, what could what could it say? Like, I didn't know it was like a small piece of paper, like a small note. I thought it was gonna be like something like a little maybe longer, but I was like, what? Because like I every time I watch this movie, I'm like, especially the first time I watched this movie, I was like, okay, it's leading up to like him finding that. And whatever that says is going to be his crossover to the afterlife. And like every time I watch this movie, I just keep thinking to myself, I'm like, what could that have possibly said? Like if they had showed it to the audience, what would they have written that would have made it like such an impactful ending? Which I still think it's an impactful ending, obviously. And I think the ambiguity is awesome. But like if they had chosen to like actually write something on that note and show it to us, what could it have been? Like what would they have come up with that would have like left a crazy lasting impression on us?
Yeah, because the point is basically when he reads the note, it kind of gives him like closure, or I guess to get him to the other side. But like, yeah, I don't know what could that possibly be, because we obviously see him go through a range of emotions as she talks to other guys and brings them over, and like the life goes on without him, and like what could be like the thing that gave him closure to be like, all right, I can rest at peace now, stop haunting, looking over, and go to Valhalla or wherever. I really don't know what it could have been. Cam, didn't we review a movie on, was it the Chris Evans directed movie where there's also like a note at the end but they don't show what it says or something? We're like, what could it have said? I feel like we debated that on the pod, but obviously a much worse movie to debate about. But
I think I vividly remember saying that movie is in one ear and out the other, and it's really showing right here because I forgot Chris Evans directed that thing. But yeah, they were in the train station or something, I think. Maybe that was the start of the movie.
I just know there was a ReelQuick like 50 episodes ago where it also ended on
like 10
someone reading a
ago,
note.
Man.
Yeah, someone read a note, but it was ambiguous and didn't tell the audience what it was, and then you're kind of left wondering like, what? I wonder what it said. Like, what could it possibly said that makes? But yeah, I don't know. I really don't. And if you're listening to this and you watched a ghost story, you've seen it before, let us know what you think could possibly have been said in that note to make him have closure on his passing, moving on to the other side. Also, he died in like a car accident, right? Like,
yeah,
that's $100,000 budget. That's where it comes in, because he had like a little blood right there. Yeah. That's fatal. That's how you die, and all you have to show for it is a little red.
Dude, that's exactly what I was thinking when they showed his face in the morgue. I was like, that's it. Like his car, he got T-boned like fucking crazy. That's all he has to show for it.
Yeah, like weak.
That was though one thing that I loved about that's like, we don't even see the car accident, but like that's just like one of the most like heartbreaking scenes that has to do with a car accident that I've seen in film, just because of how well like they built up this relationship in like,
and it's so immediate. Like it just cuts out of nowhere.
It's like a 10-minute span, and then the car accident happens. And sorry for the spoilers if you haven't seen this movie. But yeah, like
spoiler alert, he dies.
Spoiler alert, what? He dies. I don't know. But yeah, like in 10 minutes, and 10 of those minutes was like that 3-minute look of them in the bed. And it's such a good build of a relationship to make that like just that one shot of him like dead on a steering wheel just effective.
Yeah, final fun fact, like to save money for the $100,000 budget also, and they filmed the movie in Irving, Texas. They just found a real car crash where someone died and put Casey Affleck in there and filmed it to just save
no way.
That's not real thing. No, I knew it soon as you said that.
Oh my God. I was going to say that's not okay.
I mean, that would just like,
that'd be insane.
Yeah, that'd be insane, but I could totally see some artsy director like that adds another element to the movie.
Yeah.
I
thought you were going to say that they like took a car from a pound that had been totaled.
They probably honestly did do that.
Yeah.
Like they went to a pound and grabbed a crash car or something like that.
Jesus. Is this the best movie ever that both the leads have more famous siblings?
Kate and Rooney, I think Rooney's more famous than Kate.
Yeah, I was about.
Rooney Mara was in a fan four stick. That's like a popular franchise.
That movie got like nothing.
What was Rooney Mara in? A girl with the dragon tattoo? I guess The Social Network.
Her.
Is she in her?
Yeah, she's in
that's
her.
where she met Joaquin Phoenix.
Really?
Listen, Yeah, which
Weren't
is like
they also in that Jesus movie together?
I don't
Mary
know, but
Magdalene? I could have sworn she played Mary
I haven't
and
seen
Joaquin
that.
played Jesus. I thought that's where they met.
All I know is that's one of the fun facts is Sofia Coppola. Like the movie, Her is about Sofia Coppola and her divorce with Spike Jones,
Maybe
and
women
on the movie about their divorce, a
When is
couple
she
was
in
born.
Her? Man, I gotta
Interesting.
rewatch Her.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen
It
it
may
forever.
have been recommended for next week's Real Quick.
I
Nice.
definitely have to.
Well,
rewatch
you're
her.
hosting, so you have to choose. But yeah,
Yeah.
with that being said, today's Friday when you're hearing this. Monday with Real Talk episode 64. We'll be talking Napoleon, May, December. Cam said he has a game prep. So now that I've said it live on air, you have to come with the game because they're expecting it now.
I might put the game to the Real Quick game and then like pick a draft and put that in the main episode.
Okay,
Who
fair
knows? I might get crazy.
Might
Who
get
knows?
crazy.
You're fucking
But-
crazy with.
Yeah.
But yeah, we all give it a resounding thumbs up. 4.5 stars out of 5 across the board. Shout out to A Ghost Story. Finally been putting it out forever, and I finally gave it a watch. So with that being
Enjoy it.
said, yeah, we will see you on Monday.